Hello students, today we will be studying rotational motion. This is another part of rotational dynamics which I have already explained in the first 4 lectures. This is a rotational motion. After vertical circular motion there is one more part in that chapter, that is rotational motion. In previous syllabus this rotational motion chapter was different, but in this syllabus they have been merged of 2 chapters into 1 chapter. Okay. So rotational motion. So we have, first of all, you can see this tire moving or tire is rotating. You might be knowing, or you might have remembered this as well. Whenever any body rotates, its particle circulates. So you can see this tire is rotating along this axis of rotation. So the particles which are already in this tire are circulating. Okay. So in this chapter we will be seeing all these things, that is moment of inertia, kinetic energy of the rotating body, torque which is acting on a rotating body, and rotating body's angular momentum. And we will also study this moment of inertia in brief, means very nicely. Okay. First of all, we will start with kinetic energy of a rotating body. This body is rotating. So can you tell me whether the kinetic energy of this rotating body is also half mv square? But half mv square is the formula is what? Whenever the object is moving in a straight line, at that time only we use this formula, that is half mv square. But whenever the body is rotating, whether the formula is also the same? The answer is no, the formula is different. We will find it out in the upcoming slides. We are assuming that this is an arbitrary body, means it is of any shape. We have to find the kinetic energy of this rotating body. See over here, this body, we have already studied that this body is made up of number of particles. We are assuming that this body is made up of n numbers of particles. Okay. So what we will be doing, we will be finding the kinetic energy of each and every particle m1, m2, m3, m4, mn particle. And then for finding the kinetic energy of whole body, we will be adding all the kinetic energies of all the particles. Okay, we will see. So we will have the particle of mass m1, which is at a distance r1 from the center and moving with velocity v1. So we will study that whenever a body rotates, then its particle circulates. So this is the arbitrary shape. Arbitrary shape means what? It is of any shape. You can draw a body of any shape. And whenever this arbitrary shape body is rotating, then the particles over here will be circulating. So we are assuming that mass m1 is also circulating. Let us see this diagram. You can see this axis of rotation. This full particle, this body which is having n numbers of particles is moving with constant angular velocity. That is omega. But each and every particle is moving with different linear velocity. You can see this particle m1, which is of mass m1, which is situated r1 from the axis of rotation. This is the axis of rotation from which they are moving. And this mass m1 is moving with linear velocity v1. Similarly, mass m2, which is situated at a distance r2 from the axis of rotation, and it is moving with velocity v2. Similarly, mass m3, which is situated at a distance r3 from the axis of rotation, is moving with linear velocity v3. Like this we can move up till nth particle. So mass of nth particle is mnth, its distance is rnth, and it's moving with linear velocity, that is vnth. So over here what we will be doing, we are knowing that this body is made up of n numbers of particles. So we will be finding the kinetic energy of all the particles. And for finding the kinetic energy of the whole body, we will be adding all of them. Kinetic energy of the rotating body is equals to kinetic energy for particle 1 plus kinetic energy for particle 2 ... plus kinetic energy of particle n. Okay. So we are considering that it consists of n numbers of particles whose mass are m1, m2, m3, mn, which are situated at a distance r1, r2, rn respectively. So its linear velocity of mass m1, m2, m3, mn can be given as v1 is equals to r1 omega. Similarly, v2 can be given as r2 omega. V3 can be given as R3 omega. We can move up till r nth omega. Okay, you will see that in this formula v1 is changing, radius is also changing, but omega is constant, because we have seen previously that linear angular velocity was same, but linear velocity was changing. Similarly over here, angular velocity is same. So we can substitute this formula if we want to find out kinetic energy of mass m1. Formula is what? Half m1 v1 square. In place of v1, we can substitute r1 omega. In place of v2, we can substitute r2 omega. But this is for v1 square. So v1, if we substitute v1 over here, it will be r1 omega. But as it is square, so we can write it at r1 square omega square. Similarly, kinetic energy of particle of mass m2 can be written as half m2 v2 square is equals to half m2 r2 square omega square. Similarly, we can move up till nth particle. So kinetic energy, total kinetic energy of the body, we just have to substitute all these values in this formula. After substituting, we'll be getting half m1 r1 square omega square plus half m2 r2 square omega square plus half m3 r3 square omega square plus plus mn rn square omega square. But over here you will see that half and omega square is common in both. Half and omega square is common in both. So what we can do, we can take out half and omega square outside, half and omega square outside, and rest all inside. So what we have got, half brackets m1 square r1 square plus mn square mn rn square. But this whole formula can be written as summation i's value is 1 to n mi ri square omega square. This is called a summation. What is this called? Summation. And over here i's value is in the range from 1 to n. I's value is in the range from 1 to n. Means if i's value we are taking as 1, similarly r's value will be also taken as 1. So it will be m1 r1 square omega square plus half m. Next case we will be taking the value of 2. If i's value is taken as 2, r's value is also taken as 2. So what we will be writing, half m2 r2 square omega square. We have to go from 1 to n. So last will be mn rn square omega square. But this whole is called as inertia. What is called? Inertia. Whenever the object is moving in a circular manner, it is having inertia. Okay. So kinetic energy of the rotating body, we have got this formula, that is half I omega square. Half I omega square. Now we will have the discussion related to moment of inertia and mass. We will see. We have already seen this formula that I is equals to mi ri square plus m2 r2 square plus mnth rn square, where I is called moment of inertia. We can write the value of I as summation i's value is 1 to n mi ri square. Kinetic energy, we have just now seen that kinetic energy's formula for rotational motion is half I omega square. Similarly, kinetic energy for translational motion's formula is what? Half m v square. So we can see over here half and half is common in both kinetic energy, rotational as well as translational. Over here in case of translational velocity, v is denoting linear velocity, whereas omega is denoting angular velocity. So over here you can say that mass, whatever mass is doing the work in case of translational motion, similarly I or moment of inertia is doing the same work in case of rotational motion. Now we will see what type of work mass is doing in case of translational motion. You can see this photo. Over here, mass m1 is there, mass is of 1 kg. If we want to displace this mass of 1 kg by a certain distance, we are applying force of 10 Newton. So acceleration's formula is what? F upon m. This formula I have got with this formula that you should be knowing, that F is equal to m into a. So acceleration can be written as F upon m. F is what? 10. If force is 10, then mass is 1. So 10 upon 1 will be getting what? 10 meter per second square. Over here in the next case, what I have done, I have increased the mass of the object. Previously it was 1 kg, now I have increased to 2 kgs. I am applying force of same, that is 10 Newton only. But what I can see, A is equal to F upon m. So 10 upon 2 is 5 meter per second square. What is the observation? Whenever the mass is increased, acceleration is decreasing. Over here mass was less, over here mass was less, so acceleration was more. Over here is what mass is more, so acceleration is less. So what condition can we prove over here? That mass and acceleration are having opposite relation. Or we can also say that mass opposes the acceleration. Mass and force are having inverse relation. Force accelerates the body. Force tries to accelerate the body, but mass tries to oppose the acceleration. Mass tries to oppose the acceleration when we are applying force on the body. Okay, so as the mass increases, so whenever over here mass was increasing, so acceleration was decreasing. Acceleration was decreasing. So mass does not allow the body to accelerate. Mass, what does mass do? Mass does not allow the body to accelerate. Or mass, we can say that mass opposes the acceleration. Mass opposes the acceleration. So we can also have a generalized condition that mass opposes the change of state. Mass opposes the change of state. Means we have already studied this also in ninth standard related to Newton's first law, that more the mass, more is the inertia, or first law, Newton's first law was related to inertia. Similarly, mass is also called as inertia. It is the opposition offered by the body. Inertia is what? Opposition offered by the body. Okay. Inertia basically depends upon the mass. Inertia basically depends upon mass. So by how much the body will oppose will depend upon the mass. If the body is of a lower mass, then opposition force will be less. If the body is of a higher mass, then opposition force will be more. Take for example, if we want to move an eraser, which is of a very less mass, so opposition force is very less. But if we want to push a heavy load of 5 kg, we cannot do it very easily. Why? Because it is of a heavier mass. As it is of a heavier mass, so its inertia is also more. As its inertia is more will be the mass. So more will be the inertia. So more will be the opposition force that will be created in case of a translational motion. More will be the opposition force that will be created in case of a translational motion. So over here, inertia is the opposition to the change of state. What does inertia do? Inertia opposes the change of state. Means if the object is stationary, if the heavy vehicle is stationary, what will happen? The vehicle will continue to be in a state of rest only. So inertia, what will it do? It opposes from bringing it its motion. If the truck is stationary, inertia will try to keep that truck at rest only. Will oppose from bringing it in motion. And if the body is in motion, if the vehicle is moving, then inertia will oppose to halt that vehicle, or to oppose to come to rest. To oppose to come to rest. When we use the same concept in case of rotational motion, we are using the same concept in case of a rotational motion. Like mass in translational motion, moment of inertia is in rotational motion. Mass was opposing the object in case of translational motion. Similarly, whenever the object is moving, moment of inertia tries to do the same. So moment of inertia will oppose the change of state in case of a rotational motion. Whenever moment of inertia means, what does it mean? Moment of inertia will oppose the object to start rotating. Moment of inertia will oppose the object to start rotating, and it will also oppose the rotating body to be stopped. It will oppose the rotating body to be stopped. What was over here mass doing or inertia doing? It was opposing the body to start it in motion whenever it was at rest. And whenever it was at motion, it was opposing to come to it rest. Similarly, in moment of inertia, what is doing in case of rotational motion? It is opposing the object to start rotating. As well as whenever it is rotating, it is opposing the rotating object to be stopped. So, in this chapter, we will see moment of inertia only, as well as we will see moment of inertia of different bodies, as well as different objects. Moment of inertia formula is what? m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3. It goes up till mn. So generalized formula can be written as what? Summation I is equals to 1 to n. mi/ri square. So we will see the definition now. For this definition, what do you see over here? It is a product of masses. It is a product of mass as well as radius square. So that's what has been written. It is defined as sum of the product of the masses. Sum of the product of the masses of each particle. Sum of the product of masses of each particle and square of the perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation. I will repeat. What does mean by moment of inertia or the definition? It is defined as sum of the product of the masses. Sum of product of what? M and R, mass and radius. Sum of the product of masses of each particle, M1, M2, M3, these are all masses of each particle, and square of perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation. Okay, so this was the definition. So we are having different formulas for different moment of inertia. Moment of inertia for a single particle. Single particle means what? If the particle is over here. Moment of inertia for a single particle. This is a single particle. Then its moment of inertia is given by this formula, that is mr square. Similarly, moment of inertia of a discrete particle. Discrete particle means what? They are not joined together. You can see this is a discrete particle. We can see different stars which are not joined together. But whole moment of inertia can be found out, which is given by summation mi/ri square. Similarly, moment of inertia of a continuous particle. Continuous particle, any body, this body is a lamina shaped body or a plane lamina, it is of any shape. As all the particles are continuous, so this formula is applicable over here. So moment of inertia of this continuous particle can be found out with the help of this formula, that is integration. This sign is what is called integration r square, radius square dm, where dm is a mass, minute mass. SI unit of moment of inertia is kg meter square, kg meter square, and its dimension is m1 l2 t0, m1 l2 t0. As over here you will see kg is denoting what? Mass of the object. M is denoting what? Length of the object. Kg or mass is coming one time, so m is 1. Length is coming twice, so L is 2, and time is not coming only. So M1 L2 T0. Now moment of inertia, on what factors does it depends upon? Moment of inertia depends upon these three factors. First one, mass and shape and size of the body. Mass, shape and size of the body. Distribution of the masses about the axis of rotation. Position and orientation of the axis of rotation. We will see all these things individually. Mass, shape and size. You can see these two balls. This is a tennis ball, which is very small, but over here it might be looking of the same dimension. This is a basketball. Can you tell me which is having more mass? Basketball is having more mass, as basketball is having more mass. So its moment of inertia will be more as compared to a tennis ball. Distribution of the masses about the axis of rotation. Distribution of masses. Take for example, you can see these two doors. This door is very small as compared to this big door. As this door is very small, as distribution of masses is very small, so R is small. As R is small, so what is happening? Moment of inertia is also very small in this case. Okay, over here as the door is huge, so radius is very large. So distribution of masses is very large. So moment of inertia is also very large. We will see over here. More the distance of the particle from the axis of rotation, more is the moment of inertia. And less is the distance of particle from the axis of rotation. More is the distance of particles from the axis of rotation, more will be the moment of inertia. More moment of inertia means more what? More torque is required. More torque is required. Over here more torque is required. We will derive the formula for torque also afterwards, but right now try to understand that radius, torque, moment of inertia are directly proportional. Means if radius is more, means distribution is more, then moment of inertia will be more, as well as torque will be also more. Okay, so torque will be required as compared to less distance. Over here distance is less. As distance is less, moment of inertia is less, as well as torque will be also less. Over here distribution is more, means R is more. As R is more, moment of inertia will be more. So torque will be also required very high. Okay, so for opening a big door, we would require more amount of force or more amount of torque is required as compared to opening a small door. Next one, position and orientation of the axis of rotation. You can see this cylinder. One cylinder is like this. This cylinder only can be rotated in this manner as well. These are two orientations by which the cylinder can be dragged in a forward direction. Can you tell me which method is more convenient? First one or second one? It is second one. Why it is second one? Because this orientation, with the help of this orientation, the movement is quite easier. So moment of inertia also depends upon position and orientation of the axis of rotation. Over here, axis of rotation is like this. If we rotate the cylinder in this manner as well, but moment of inertia required will be very high, as well as it will be not very easy. Whereas in this case, as it is rolling, so moment of inertia will be less, as well as we will be able to move it quite easily. Next one, radius of gyration. See, pronunciation doesn't matter. I pronounce it in this manner, that is gyration. Radius of gyration. It is denoted by K. Okay. Over here, take for example, this is an object which is rotating along this axis of rotation. And after rotating this along axis of rotation, moment of inertia we are getting as 10 kg meter square. We are rotating this whole body about this axis of rotation, and this moment of inertia we are getting 10 kg meter square. Now what we have done, this is a body, we have hammered this body. We have hammered this body and made it into a particle, and made it into a particle of mass m. We have made it into a particle of mass m, and we have rotated this again along the same axis of rotation. We have rotated this again along the same axis of rotation. In the first condition, we have kept R1, we have kept the radius as R1. We have founded some sort of moment of inertia, which is less than 10 kg per meter square. Take for example, in case of R1, we are getting moment of inertia as 5 meter per second, 5 kg per meter, 5 kg meter square. When we are keeping radius as R2, we are getting this as 7. We are getting moment of inertia as 7. But when we are keeping radius as R3, we are getting moment of inertia of 10 kg meter square. We are getting moment of inertia as 10 kg per meter square. Over here, what we have done in a previous case, this was a whole body. We have hammered it and made it into a mass m1. And now we are rotating along the same axis of rotation. Whenever the moment of inertia of this body matches with the moment of inertia of this particle of mass m, that is called as the radius of gyration. That distance is called radius of gyration. I will repeat, whatever the moment of inertia of this whole body is, if we are hammering this body and making it into a mass m1, into a mass m, and whenever we are rotating and we are getting the same moment of inertia, along the same axis, that distance is called radius of gyration. That distance is what called? Radius of gyration. Now we will see. Now we are rotating the particle along the same axis of rotation. Radius of gyration is a distance at which the body's moment of inertia is same around the same axis. Okay. So K3 is a point across which moment of inertia we are getting for the particle of mass m1 as 10 kg meter square. Over here, this body's moment of inertia was 10 kg meter square. This particle, whenever we are hammered it, we are getting moment of inertia also the same. So this distance is called radius of gyration. What is this distance called? Radius of gyration. So K3 is a radius of gyration. It is a distance at which the particle's moment of inertia of the body, the particle's moment of inertia and the body's moment of inertia matches with each other. What is it? It is a distance at which moment of inertia of the body and the particle's moment of inertia matches with each other. both are matching with each other and both are coming along the same axis. Okay, so radius of dilation, over here definition is there, is defined as distance between the axis of rotation. What is it? It is the distance between the axis of rotation and the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. What is the radius of dilation? It is the distance between the axis of rotation. It is the distance between the axis of rotation. It is the distance between the axis of rotation and the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. Distance between the axis of rotation and the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. See over here, this is the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated, and it is the distance between the axis of rotation. This is the axis of rotation. This is the axis of rotation. And this is the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. Try to understand. This is the axis of rotation. This full is axis of rotation. Just 1 minute. This is the axis of rotation, and this is the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. Point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. So it is a distance between both of them. It is a distance between the axis of rotation and the point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. So its formula is I is equals to mk square, where k is radius of dilation. So k can be found out with the help of this. K will be equal to under root I upon m, where I is a moment of inertia of the body and m is a mass of the body. As it is just a distance, so its SI unit is meter and its dimension is m0, l1, t0. So k, radius of dilation, is denoted by this formula. But over here, for a specific body, mass is always constant. So we can see that radius of dilation is directly proportional to moment of inertia. So if moment of inertia increases, naturally radius of dilation will also increase. So moment of inertia increases, so radius of dilation or k will also increase. We will see some physical significance of radius of dilation now, or why is this radius of dilation studied. Okay, radius of dilation, what does it indicates? It is an indicating measure of moment of inertia. So it tells us whether the moment of inertia is more or less. If k is more, naturally moment of inertia will be more. If k is less, naturally moment of inertia will be also less. Now we will derive a torque. Torque, whenever the object is moving straight. Over here, the object is moving straight. Whenever the object is moving straight, we are applying force. Similarly, whenever the object is rotating along fixed axis, in case of a rotational motion, force is called as a torque. Force is called as a torque. You can see this whole body moving with a constant angular acceleration alpha. We can see this whole object moving with constant angular acceleration alpha. Now what we will be finding? We will be finding the torque acting on the individual particle. What we will be finding? Torque acting on this individual whole body. So for this, again, what we will be doing? We will be finding the torque of mass m1, mass m2, mass m3, mass mn, and then we will be adding up all of them for finding the torque acting on a rotating body. If you see this diagram over here, mass m1 is there, which is at a distance r1 from the axis of rotation, and it is moving with a linear force, that is F1. Similarly, mass m2 is there, which is situated at a distance r2 from the axis of rotation, and it is moving with a linear force, that is F2. Similarly, mass m3 is there, which is at a distance r3 from the axis of rotation. It is moving with a linear force F3. We can move up till the nth particle, mnth mass, whose distance from the axis of rotation is rn, and it's moving with radius with a force, linear force, that is Fn. Again, we can see this F1, F2, F3. This all are the tangential force. This all are the tangential force which has been applied. Tangential force which has been applied on the mass m1, m2, m3, mn respectively. So linear acceleration. We are knowing the relation in the first part, that linear acceleration is radius times into angular acceleration. So what we can write? A1 is equals to R1 alpha. Similarly, A2 is equals to R2 alpha, and we can go up till Rnth. Means Anth is equals to Rnth alpha. You will see over here alpha is not changing. Why alpha is not changing? Because angular acceleration is constant. Angular acceleration is constant, but linear acceleration is changing. Linear acceleration is changing, so A1, A2, A3, this is denoting linear acceleration, and alpha is denoting angular acceleration. Angular acceleration is not changing. So magnitude of the force, we are knowing that F is equals to ma. Force is equals to mass into acceleration. So in case of acceleration, what we can write? R1 alpha. F1 is equals to m1 a1. But a1 can be written as what? R1 alpha. Because alpha is this what we have written over here. But magnitude of the torque can be given by this formula, that is torque, as it is torque is a vector quantity. As it is a vector quantity, torque can be denoted as torque is equals to F cross R. Vector quantity means what? Torque is a vector product. If we remove this cross product, then we will be getting sine theta. Then what we will be getting? Sine theta. But you will see this forces were directed, force is directed outwards and radius is directed inwards. What is the angle being created between both of them? Force is directed outwards and radius is directed inwards. The angle created between them is 90 degree. So theta is equals to 90. And sine 90 is what? 1. Sine 90 is 1. So therefore this will vanish. So tau 1 or torque 1 can be written as F1 R1. Torque 1 can be written as F1 R1. Now F can again be written, force can be written as mass into acceleration. So M1 A1 R1. M1 A1 R1. Again A1, that is acceleration, can be written as what? R1 alpha. A1 can be written as what? R1 alpha. R1 was already previously over here. R1 एक था यहाँ पे. तो R1 will become R1 square. Again, torque tau 1 is equals to F1 R1. Force can be written as what? Mass into acceleration. So I have written mass into acceleration. Mass M1 into radius R1. But again this acceleration we have seen in the previous one. यहाँ पे देखा था, कहाँ पे देखा था? Acceleration was written as what? R1 alpha. So similarly acceleration has been written again as R1 alpha. R1 previously was there. So it is becoming R1 square alpha. Similarly, tau 2 can be written as M2 R2 square alpha. Tau 3 can be written as M3 R3 square alpha. We can move up till the nth particle. So tau n can be written. If we add all of them, total torque of this rotating body will be getting. Like I have already stated, we are finding the torque of each and every particle of mass, different masses, and we will be adding up. So total torque is equal to tau 1 plus tau 2 plus tau 3 plus tau n. Tau 1 can be written as M1 R1 square alpha plus tau 2 R2 square alpha plus tau M3 R3 square alpha plus mn Rn square alpha. Over here you will see that alpha, it is not changing. Alpha is not changing as it is a what? Angular acceleration. Angular acceleration is constant. You can see your fan moving. The fan, as long as regulator is not being switched on or switched off, regulator is not being regulated, the fan will move with a constant angular acceleration every time. So here alpha is denoting what? Angular acceleration. And this whole can be written as this one because this is denoting inertia. M1 R1 square, M2 R2 square plus M3 R3 square plus mn Rn square. This whole can be denoted as inertia. So tau can be written as I into alpha. So tau, torque is equal to moment of inertia into angular acceleration. Again, torque is equal to moment of inertia into angular acceleration. Now we will study this whenever the ball is rolling. Whenever the ball is rolling or whenever the round spherical object is moving in a forward direction, does it only move in a forward direction? Does it only comprises of translational motion? No, it consists of both motions, translational motion as well as rotational motion. you can see whenever this object is moving, previously take for example, this is the position A, after some time this is position B, and this is the position C. You can see this object always moving in a straight line. The particle over here, which is at the center of mass, it is moving in a straight line only. But this object is moving round and round. This object is moving round and round, but center of mass is moving in a straight line. So therefore, rolling motion is a combination of two types of motion. Translational motion of center of mass and rolling motion of whole body. Over here, M will be denoting M as mass of the body, V as linear velocity of the body, omega as angular velocity of the body, I as moment of inertia of the body, and K as the radius of gyration. So total kinetic energy of the rolling body is the addition of both kinetic energy due to translational motion and kinetic energy due to rotational motion. Kinetic energy of translational motion, you might be knowing, we have already studied from 8th standard, that is half mv square. And kinetic energy of rotational motion also we have studied just now, that is I omega square. Half I omega square. But over here what we can do, in place of I, what we can substitute, we have got the value of radius of dilation. So I can be substituted as mk square. I can be substituted as what? mk square. But we are knowing that linear velocity is radius times angular velocity. Linear velocity is equal to radius times angular velocity. We want this whole formula in terms of angular velocity. So omega can be written as V upon R. But you will see that in this formula, it is omega square. So in this formula, what we will be getting? V square upon R square. Over here, you will see that half mv square is over here. Half m as well as v square is also over here. So what we can take? We can take half mv square outside the brackets. So over here, we can write kinetic energy of rolling is equal to half mv square, bracket start, 1 plus, over here it should be k square, over here it is wrong, it should be k square upon r square. But k's value is different for different bodies. Radius of gyration's value is different for different body, and kinetic energy of the rolling also varies from body to body. For different bodies, kinetic energy of rolling will be different. Okay. For a solid sphere, k's value is root 2 upon 5 r. Now we will study rolling down of we will see this body which is kept at a height. This is the body which is kept at a certain height and it is allowed to move downwards. Okay. Previously, whenever this body was at height, it was not having any kinetic energy. As it was not having any velocity. But it was having potential energy due to its raised height. As soon as this disk is moved, what is happening? Full potential energy is getting converted into kinetic energy. So potential energy is decreasing and kinetic energy is increasing. So consider a rigid body of mass m and radius r rolling down the inclined plane of angle theta and height is h. When the body starts from rest, this body is starting from rest and rolling down an inclined plane. This is the inclined plane from which it is rolling down. What will happen? It will lose its potential energy and gain its kinetic energy. So total energy is conserved. If V is a linear speed which has been acquired by the body, as soon as this body reaches over here, V is the velocity which has been acquired. So we can derive now kinetic energy translational plus kinetic energy rotational is equal to potential energy at the top. Kinetic energy translational plus kinetic energy rotational is equal to potential energy at the top. Potential energy is given by this formula, that is mass into acceleration due to gravity into height at which it has been kept. Over here again what we have done the substitution like we have done in the previous derivation. I has been substituted as mk square and in place of omega square we can substitute as v square upon r square. Again half m v square we can take common because it is over here as well as over here as well. So we are taking half m v square outside. So inside we are getting 1 plus k square upon r square is equals to mgh. So we want the formula for v square. हमें क्या निकालना है? वेलोसिटी निकालना है. So m and m will get cancelled finally. यहाँ पे जो m है, just 1 minute. Over here m and over here m will get cancelled, and over here v square is there. We want formula in terms of v square. So this 2 which is in the denominator will go in the numerator over here. So we will be getting v square is equals to 2gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square. But we want the formula in terms of velocity. V चाहिए, v square नहीं चाहिए. So we will be taking square root from both the sides. So what will happen? This square and this square root sign will get cancelled. So ultimately we will be getting v is equals to under root 2gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square. यहाँ पे जो expression मिलता है, this is showing velocity of the body rolling down a smooth inclined plane. This is a velocity of the body. This is a velocity of the body which is rolling down a smooth inclined plane. ये plane है which is very smooth. So whenever this disc is moving down this plane, its velocity will be like this. Now if we consider this angle, this is a hypotenuse. ये क्या है? Hypotenuse है. Hypotenuse side is s. This is the height h. This is what? This is the height h, and this is angle theta. Now if we want to find out sin theta, what is sin theta? Opposite upon hypotenuse. Opposite upon hypotenuse. So sin theta के opposite वाला कौन सा आता है? This is the height. Sin theta, this angle, ये angle का opposite कौन सा है? This is O and this is h. ये h है. Opposite. So what we can write? H upon s. S we are writing in the denominator as s was denoting the hypotenuse. So it is h upon s. Again, linear speed, linear distance traveled by the plane can be written as s को ऊपर ले लिया. And sin theta we have taken in the denominator, so we are getting s is equals to h upon sin theta. We'll be applying this kinematic equation, third kinematic equation, that is v square is equals to u square plus 2as. But over here is what? v square मतलब क्या? ये पूरा वैल्यू डालना है. root 2gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square is equals to this one. लेकिन ये स्क्वायर है. ये square means what? This root sign will not be there. This root sign will not be there. Ultimately what we will be getting? 2gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square is equals to, u will be taking as 0 as this disk is starting from this point. ये disk यहाँ से फेंक रहे हैं. As this disk is starting rolling from this point, so initial velocity is equals to 0. As initial velocity is equals to 0, u is taken as 0. Now 2as. Okay. Now what we will be doing? We will be substituting. यहाँ पे root sign is not there. Over here by mistakenly I have written. Over here root sign is not there. We want to find over here what we have founded. We have founded the velocity already. Now we want to find the acceleration. For acceleration, what we'll be doing? 2gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square is equals to 2as. But over here this 2 will get cancelled, and we want value in terms of a. So over here what we'll be writing? 2as, and s will be taken in the denominator. So acceleration is this one, gh upon 1 plus k square upon r square s. But from the previous slide में क्या मिला था? h upon s can be written as sin theta. H upon s can be written as sin theta. So what we have written? h upon s के जगह यहाँ पे sin theta आ गया. So we have got this is denoting our acceleration. What is this denoting? Acceleration. Thank you.